Hi, everyone. Welcome. For some of you, welcome back. For some of you, welcome to your first webinar. Welcome to Breakout Beauty's UK How to Break Out in 2026 webinar series. I am Sonia, your moderator for today, and I'm joined by Paul, as many of you know, Grow Studios co-founder and Breakout Beauty's program architect. And we also have a very special guest, a return guest, Meg Gordon from co-founder Strealab, and she was also part of the 2025 cohort. She's joining us today.
Hey.
This is our second episode of Ask Me Anything, everything you need to know before applying to Breakout Beauty. And it's in the title. We're going to run through everything you need to know about the program. And we're also going to let everyone that's attending today lead the session with any questions you may have. Now, before I let Paul and Megan lead this through, I just have a couple of housekeeping stuff that I want to go through really quickly. First of all, today's session is going to run about an hour. We're going to let about 25 to 30 minutes for Paul to run us through the whole program, for Meg to give us a bit of an introduction to her brand and what the involvement was in the program. And then we're going to finish the session with the Q&A. And this is where I really want to drop everyone's attention to our Q&A function or the chat, doesn't matter, where you can drop in all your questions. You can fill them in as we go through the slides, or you can wait till the end. But don't be shy, you can start dropping them in whenever you want, and then we'll tackle them towards the end of the webinar. And for anyone that is wondering, the session will be recorded and it will be shared with everyone that has registered with us today through your emails. So check them out by the end of day today. And lastly, but not least, we do ask if you could dedicate 2 to 3 minutes to take a little short survey. It will pop up when you've closed the browser today. And it's just to help us, first of all, figure out if you find that these webinars are useful, but also if there's any topics you want us to cover in the future. Okay, I think that is all from me. Paul, I'll leave it
Perfect.
to you.
Hi, everyone. I hope you're well. I'm Paul. I'm one of the architects of Breakout Beauty. As Sonia said, delighted to be joined by Meg. Hi, Meg. And in essence, what we'd like to do today is just introduce you to very top line everything about Breakout Beauty, what the program is, who it's for, why it's great, what you should consider before applying, and what to expect during the program. To Sonia's point, if you've got questions, please do put them in the chat. If you've got questions about the application process, about the program, about what happens, whatever it is, please put them in and then Sonia will curate them. You'll have to excuse my depressing, horrible background. I'm traveling at the moment and I'm staying in a hotel room the size of a cupboard. So not the usual caliber of background that I can pretend we usually have. Meg, you were in last year's program. Do you want to quickly say hello and introduce Strylabs?
Yeah. So, hi everyone. It's really exciting to be here today, and I'm hoping we get to hear more about your brands as part of the Q&As too. But yeah, I'm Meg. I'm the founder of Strialab, and we create science-backed solutions for stretch marks. And really, the brand began after my first pregnancy when I got really bad, deep red stretch marks, and went looking for help in Boots and Space NK, and was offered solutions such as Brazilian bum cream, which aren't going to help with stretch marks. And we just knew there was a market to go after there, and that there were solutions out there for stretch marks. Don't believe what you've been told that nothing can help, because they can. And we've created it, and we're taking a really systematic approach to how to treat stretch marks.
Perfect. And for all the questions, if you want to direct them to us or to Meg, Meg's been asked to be as honest and truthful to all the founders out there about your questions as well. So obviously it's a huge time commitment for a program like this, so we prefer you to be really up to speed on what to expect. So this is part of a series of webinars. We've got a number of webinars in the pipeline. Some of the webinars coming up are around raising capital for your beauty brand. Money's really hard to get. People don't know what money to get, when to get it, what for, what to spend it on. Trying to stay sustainable and ethical as you grow a brand is really tough. And we know that there's a huge trend in founders like yourselves wanting to do more for the planet, But it's really difficult. So we've got a webinar on that, and then we've got a number of how I built it. So including Marina from Wonder Skin is going to talk to us about how she built her brand. We've got a couple of other big names coming our way. So please stay up to date. Follow us on LinkedIn. Sonia will put a link in the notes. But this is a series of webinars, all curated and created to try and help you scale your beauty and wellness brands. Just for context for people who might not know us, Breakout Beauty is a program by Growth Studio. We are one of Europe's most respected accelerator programs. We've just been nominated as #1 UK mentors by the Financial Times in the UK. We've run 90 something programs like this. So we're really familiar with the challenges you have as founders, how to try and give you as much impact and value over a few weeks as possible, but also how to connect you to ecosystems and get you into rooms that you might not be already in. You'll probably see my face quite a lot in these webinars, but I'm supported by a fantastic team who are all brilliant. So last year, we introduced Breakout Beauty, and what we wanted to do is create an environment where the next generation of brilliant British brands could begin. And that was predicated on a lot of insight work and research work that we had done that realized founder-led beauty brands, there's more and more of you, which is fantastic. It's easier to create them than ever before. But actually, it's really tough to scale them because we realized that money is really hard to get. And in order to do well in retail or on any of the tech platforms like TikTok Shop or Amazon, or even just try and stand out, you need a lot of money. But if people don't know where to get that money from, I think there's a lot of bias towards consumer. We realized that people found it really difficult to get into the right rooms, to pitch to the right people, to pitch the right thing to the right people in order to start their retail journey. Going into retail completely transforms how you operate, how you do business, your unit economics, your packaging legalities. And we just found there's a lot of noise and disparate information out there, and so many people were looking to get help to take their business to the next level, but there really wasn't a unified place where they could get that, and we could bring in not only founders but an ecosystem of people that really supported founders and wanted them to do well, but also retailers, banks, investors, and all of the people that we could connect together in order to help you. We started last year. The program did incredibly well. 2 of the brands are now going into Boots into 370 stores and 50 stores. And so that's within a few months of the program. Many of the other brands are talking to Boots and other retailers. Some are already raising investment. So the impact from last year's program was great. We had a mission, and that mission continues: build the biggest, most respected beauty accelerator of its kind that's created and bespoke to the challenges that beauty founders like you have. Build a consortium of renowned beauty entrepreneurs, industry experts, consumer startup experts, banks, investors, all of the people that you might need who are there to help you. We wanted to create a really unique partnership approach where our core partners, people like Boots and TikTok Shop, aren't only just sponsoring the program, but actually they've got a long-term vested interest in your success. And I'll go on to what Boots are doing and some of the other partners in a couple of minutes. And finally, you need to raise your profile. You need to be well known, both you as a founder and you as your brands. And so we're also trying to create a lot of noise, buzz, conversation, debate, thought leadership in the industry and beyond around some of the exceptional talent that we have in the UK, but also how hard we make it for them to grow. Last year's program was 6 weeks. This year we are going much bigger. It's a much longer program at 10 weeks. We've got many more partners who each bring exclusive value and impact to you and your businesses. We've got much higher ambitions in terms of where we can take the program, the level of support that we're giving, the way we can raise your profile, and also the outcomes. We want all of you to go through the program. And my personal vision is that this is the most important 10 weeks that your business will ever have. And it will define and change and influence the trajectory of your business. So we've got some incredible ideas, which we'll go through. Sorry, Meg.
I said I can certainly vouch for that. It's definitely been instrumental for me.
So give you a taste of what the program is, and I'm conscious that many of you might not be familiar with the concept of an accelerator program. Essentially, we've designed a 10-week program, and it's a bespoke syllabus for founders that are looking to get to the next level of their to scale to the next level. So that's people who are in market already selling. They're looking to raise investment, or they're looking to get into retail. They've, you know, they've got customers, coming back, but they realize that they've got bigger ambitions, but they need help to support it, and that's where we come in. We are looking for 10 exceptional founders. We're running a national campaign to find them. We might go up to 12 founders. Last time we did, because it was too difficult to choose just 10. We've got a huge range of partners. So we've got Boots, TikTok Shop, Bird & Bird, which is a global legal firm, Amcor, which is one of the most respected packaging companies. We've got FDD International, who's a global distributor. They work very closely with Boots. We've got IF Global, who are not only just a 3PL company, but they have a suite of strategic support to help grow businesses. They work with Siri. CEW UK are partners, and we've got many more that are going to be announced hopefully next week. We've got contracts being signed as we speak. We'll provide hundreds of hours of masterclasses, and these are bringing in people who are exceptional at what they do in the world of raising finance, support, helping you get the best unit economics you can, making sure you've got financial forecasts, making sure you're raising your profile, you're using TikTok Shop or Amazon or whatever it is. We bring in people who have lived experience of building brands and companies and can help you create the right strategies for you to impose. Or we've got people who are just consultants and experts in their field. We have 2 industry events. We had the launch event. I think you can probably see photos from the launch event last year, where we had Trinny Whittle, we had Sarah Jossel, we had the legend that is Nicole Scholar from HSBC. And that was 150 people from across industry who we introduced our cohort to. A few weeks later, we're going to have the finale, which is where all of you will be pitching, all of the people on the program will be pitching their business back to industry in a 3 or 4 minute presentation to introduce who they are, where they're going, what they need. And at the end of that finale, we're going to be choosing 2 winners who'll get a package of prizes, including getting stopped into Boots, a bespoke program of support from TikTok Shop. And we're in talks with a couple of the other partners as well to try and beef that up. We can teach you how to scale your business until the cows come home. But the reality of being a small business is that you'll learn, we think, much better than from people that have been there, that have done that have made mistakes, that have been in your predicament, that have found the wins, got the war wounds. And one of the things we went out to when we started the program last year was to go to a few entrepreneurs and say, look, we're building this program. Would you be interested in sharing your support? And actually, every single person we approached came back and said they'd be delighted to, because they all realized quite how hard it was. So we have a suite of some of the most respected and well-known names in the industry. Rochelle Hume, Susie Ma, I've got Ariel coming back from Elemis. You'll probably recognize all of these faces. I'm not going to go through every single one. But essentially, they're beauty brands that are very well established to ones that are a bit newer. And we're going to be talking to these founders about their experiences of getting into retail, of new product development, of how they scaled on social, how they generated PR, how they got their first 1,000 customers. So we're going to be speaking to them each on an area that they are expertise in. And they'll also be sharing some of their experiences with you, and there'll be opportunities for you to meet most of them and ask them some questions as well. And I think this is one of the most popular areas of the program last year, because they can really relate to where you are in this incredible but highly lonely, highly stressful, highly challenging life choice that all of us entrepreneurs have decided to take ourselves upon. I think I've mentioned the partners already, but again, they'll be offering support, introductions. Many of them will be having one-to-ones to help you with your brands, if that's around your legal and trademark setup, if that's about your finances. We've also got a suite of investors that we'll be announcing in the next couple of weeks that are attached to the program as well. And so what we're trying to do is give you the greatest selection of support from the industry and the connections that you'll need now and well into the future as you start to scale and grow your business. We've got some brilliant names here. Key program dates. So we've launched applications already. The deadline to have those done is 15th of June. And remind me, Sonia, I'm assuming that's midnight 15th of June, if you can just chuck that into chat.
Yeah.
I'd say the application form takes about 20 to 25 minutes. It is detailed, excuse me, and you will need quite a lot of information on there. You can start it and come back to it. But the reason we're asking for so much information is that we're having to evaluate where you are in your business, where you're going, your challenges. We want to know all of your problems, be completely transparent, all of the areas you're great at, where you want to take the business, who you are as a founder. To me, that's one of the most important facets. So it does take time, but the more comprehensive information we've got from you, the better. If you don't get onto the program, I'm very conscious we've got hundreds of applicants already, but there's only a few spaces. We are running and creating so much more support over the next year and into 2027. So we've got an additional boot camps, webinars that you'll probably get invited to, or you'll be able to apply for. If we've got your details, we can also forge connections between some of the other partners or some of the people we're working outside of Breakout Beauty in the beauty world. So if you're worried about applying or don't think you're quite on the mark, I would urge you to apply anyway and just let us know where you are, just so we've got your details and we can help you in different ways. The launch event will be in central London on the 14th of July. And the program will run into the 22nd of September. So 22nd of September is the final day of like the syllabus and the program. And then there's a few days break in the run up to the grand finale. And that gives you time to get a little bit of time off, practice your presentation, but also gives Boots a little bit of time and TikTok Shop a bit of time to go through the final cohort and work out who they want to give their prizes and support to. So the most important one is the types of people we're looking for. And for every rule, there's about 50 exceptions to this. I think for me, the thing I'm drawn to most of all is really exceptional founders. Those are people who are really commercial in how they think. They're investable in terms of, I can see them being great stewards of the company for the next 3 to 5 to 7 to 10 years. They'll be responsible with money. They've got a really good view on their market, on their product, on their brand, on their finances. At this stage, you're not expected to be fantastic at every single part of the business. That's why programs like this exist to help you. But I'm looking for founders who have scalable businesses, who are quite PRable, either from a founder's perspective or the problem they're trying to solve or the product that they've got. And sometimes you just meet people with the X factor, and oftentimes they don't know they have the X factor, but that's what I look for. We're looking for brands with traction. So oftentimes people, don't have a product that they're launching just yet. I think for this program, in order to get into the cohort, we really need brands that already have sales in the UK. So that's anywhere from turning over 100,000 to about 3 million, which is kind of representative of the last cohort. Some might be less, but you might be newer. That's fine. Some might be more, but have blind spots that they're trying to fill. That's okay. Ideally, to go into retail, most retailers ask that you've got a minimum of 6 SKUs or products. Again, that's not a mandatory. We ask how many SKUs you have and what they are. But if you're turning over less, if you're turning over more, if you've got 1 SKU, if you've got 1,000 SKUs, all of that's fine. If you think you can get value from the program, and if you think we can give you value within the program, please apply. It's okay to sit outside the rules. We've got guidelines. I think in order to win the prizes, particularly with Boots, I think we're looking for people that have the capabilities to get their products and brands into retail within about 6 months of the program. And that means refining any of the packaging that you might need to do. It means giving you a chance to go and raise additional funds if you need to, making sure you've got your legals and your marketing and everything in place. But part of the program is about preparing you for what to do. We're looking for exciting brands. Like, who is the next Hair Syrup, the next Wonderskin, the next Stria Labs, the next Jo Malone? We're looking for cult brands, essentially, people that have cult followings, that are doing something really unique, that are disrupting the status quo or the traditions, that come with communities that have been underserved or forgotten about. So I think the more exciting brands, the better. Tell us why your brand is great. Retailers need to make sure that as soon as you go on shelf, you will sell. So from Boots' perspective, what they'll be looking for amongst the applications are, do you have retail appeal? You might not yet, but could you have by the end of the program or within a few months of the program? That is, are you serving a category that people want? Can you demonstrate that you've got a social following or you've got growing traction, so that when you get on shelves, you'll be able to sustain those sales in retail? And most of all, founders who really want to build and scale serious brands, we're looking for ambition here. If you want to create and maintain a lifestyle brand, absolutely fine, but this may not be the program for you. We're very much looking for people who've got that urgency, that appetite, the inherent need to take their product or their brand or their business big. And that might be because you're motivated by money. It might be that you're motivated by fame. It might be that you're motivated by solving a problem, or a greater mission. All of those are brilliant, but we're looking for people who are looking to go big. For those lifestyle businesses, again, we will be offering so much more support and help beyond the program. So again, do apply, but just let us know where you are in the business and where you want to take it, so that in future we can make sure we're sending you the right initiatives, boot camps, support, that type of thing. What you want from us, basically, the reason founders come to us is that you're looking to build the right foundations to scale your company. You're looking to raise your profile. You're looking to get connections and intros into the rooms that might have already been really difficult to get into at retailers, at banks, at magazines, to journalists, to people who will just have your back and act as ambassadors. And I think all of the partners, all of the entrepreneurs that we've got, like, they're all championing every single one of the brands that we've introduced them to. So those are the motivations, I guess, that we'd expect from you on us. For the application form, some of the top tips, we get asked about this all the time. I think when you go forward to apply for a program like this, inevitably you want to sell your business and showcase why you're great and focus on the positives. But we set up this program because we know how hard it is to scale a business and grow a business. It's easier for us to evaluate if we know what's going great, what's going terrible, what your blind spots are, as well as what are your superpowers. So be completely transparent and honest, and be really open about where you need help or where you think you could be doing better at, because it just helps us work out if you're a fit for the program. The people that get on the program aren't the best businesses in the world. They're the ones that have the most appropriate fit to the program. And I think that's a really important thing. I think we think all of them are brilliant. Of course we do. But it's matching what we do with what you need to a broader outcome. That's what we look for. Do your research. There's quite a lot of information on our website, online. If you just Google Breakout Beauty, you can see a lot of info there about the program, about the partners. It's incredible still how many people applied last year who I don't think knew anything about the program at all, and that came through. So just understand a bit more about who we are and what we're trying to achieve, and Boots, that type of thing. Clear the decks for the program. It is intense. We've tried to design the program so we can maximize the impact that we give you over 10 weeks. But we also acknowledge that all of you will be running businesses. There's about 9 or 10 in-person days across that 10 weeks. Mostly that's in central London. There will be one day, potentially 2 up in Nottingham. And those days will be in-person, 9 to 5 workshops with maybe some fun stuff in the evening. And we'll have virtual sessions in between. But it is intense. You'll need to prepare for it. And I think to get the most out of it, try and clear the deck so you can prepare for it. If in doubt, even if you don't think you're quite ready, or if you think there's things that we're asking for that you can't match or you're unsure, I'd still urge you to apply anyway, because the suite of stuff we've got planned in and around the program and outside of the program for beauty founders. FAQs. Is it free? Yes, it is. The way that we work is that our partners sponsor us to run the program. So it's completely free for you. The only time we do charge is that some of our investor partners, if they eventually invest in your business, we take a small introductory fee. That's it. Will be in all the terms and conditions, but there's no catch. It is a brilliant program, and we've worked really hard to make sure that it is completely free, and there will always be free for founders. Mandatory requirements. You need to be a UK-based company. You need to be the founder. You need to be working on the business full time. Again, if you're not, you can still apply. Just tell us you're not. You probably won't get onto the final cohort, but we'll be able to support you at a stage where you might be. Come in with good intentions. Come in to really have an open mind, to be challenged, to have people tear apart your business in a good way, to put you in really uncomfortable spaces, to get the most out of you and your business. I think, come in with an open mind. Everyone here is trying to help you in your business. And I know that's quite challenging when you've got a business and you've created this beautiful baby, and people are starting to pick it apart. It can be tough. And final is a selection process. So what we look for is the best fit for the program. I'm looking for founders that want to make it really big. People that are driven, they have that urgency, that urge, that appetite to grow their business that will solve a problem. I'm looking for a nice range of products and people and backgrounds, and I think our experiences of the beauty world, it's not particularly diverse. I kind of want to change all of that, and I think we see a lot of insecurities from founders. I'd say particularly our female founder network, if people go, "Oh, I'm not sure if I'm right. I'm not sure if I'm there." There's inherent insecurity from founders in the sector compared to other ones. You're probably brilliant. You just don't know it yet. So apply. Selection process will be us looking at program fit and your capability to make it big. We'll have investors. We'll have retailers. We'll have beauty experts. So we run quite a stringent review process where we all mark you from different areas and different backgrounds, and then we sort of get into a room and then battle for about 2 or 3 days as to who should come on the program. Oftentimes there's more people that we'd want on the program than we can fit. So even if you don't get on, again, we're still making introductions. We're still supporting founders that haven't been on the program. I realise I've spoken far too long, about my 20 minutes. Meg, you came to the program. I think from the minute we saw your application video, we kind of knew you were special and wanted you on. Talk us through your experiences of Breakout Beauty.
Gosh, where do I start? I actually took some time before coming on this call to cast my mind back, because I'm so in the grains of what we're doing in 2020. I was going to say 2027, 2026 even. But yeah, so, funny, because you've been talking about the selection process and, you might not necessarily fit into all the categories, but definitely apply. One that I definitely didn't fit into was working full time on this. But I had ambition to, and I knew I was about to start to. So I've got 2 small children. It was very much when I came into this side hustle around the kids. I had another job in Australia that I was working on part-time, and I'm a shareholder in another netball shoe brand. So I was juggling quite a few things whilst also in part-time 3 days a week. But I could see at that point in my business that it was growing. It was growing really rapidly, and it was time to lean in. And I knew it was just the perfect time to apply for this program. It literally couldn't have been perfect timing. I'd been like keyboard warrior from home, working really siloed. And this business had such huge potential that it was time to lean in and get me out there networking. And if I think about my goal from Breakout Beauty program, it was that. And I think I said that in the application form, in my interview, was just to get out and get my networks going, because it's so key to growing your business. My experience in the program, I absolutely loved it. Loved every second. And I think if you're going on a program like this, you have to lean in 100%. make sure you attend on time to every session, soak it up. Every person you meet, you linked in with them straight away. Keep those conversations going beyond this, and continue to expand your network. Because I feel now, not even 6 months past the program, what, four months past the end date, I feel really amongst the beauty circle now, and I wasn't that before. So it helps in so many ways. It provides a really holistic approach to how to run your business, and that's what I loved about it as well. We can often get really excited about the branding and the marketing and the product development side, but you do need to know your legals. You need to know your cash flow position. You need to know how you could potentially finance your business in other ways than just taking money. So it was great to have those connections right across the industry. And I guess one of my favorite parts of this program is that you're presented almost like a student. So you're going into these conversations with Boots, TikTok Shop, Venrex was one last year as a VC. And normally you'd be going into these meetings in pitch mode. You want to make the most of every single second, but you're presented almost like a student or someone to help and to learn from. And it's a very different dynamic going into those conversations. So the relationships you're able to take forward from this are built from a different starting point. And that is just hugely invaluable in itself. So I had a wonderful time. I think the networks, both from the partners of the program, but also from the founder cohort, were amazing. We share all our wins and woes, and they're the best people to learn from. So yeah, and the team, of course, at Grow Studio. How do it last but not least, the team. They're great. They're great. Honestly, every single person in the team are fantastic. A delight to work with, and they make it really fun.
I think I say that just on what you're saying, Meg. I mean, there was a couple of other people that got into the program that, on face value, maybe couldn't have or shouldn't have. So Louis from Clear for Men, he didn't have the revenue. He was nowhere near the minimum thresholds we're looking for. He probably won't be retail ready for a while. But there was just something exceptional about who he was and what he was doing that just got him through. And I think the other thing that I am always really proud of, we spend a lot of time on the final cohort of matching personalities and brands. It's not, it's not the first 1 to 10 to get through. It's like the dynamics between the brands. And I think we had £5 million brands and 10k brands. We had people from hair care, cosmetics, tan, skincare, everything. What did you learn from the other cohort members? Because there were so many blind spots and people that were killing it in various different ways.
Lots. I think I'm a member of a few different female founder cohorts and things. And we openly share references are always a great one within the founder world, because it's hard to come by an agency. I think, just in certain channels that are doing really well, we're not on socials. I think there was only 2 brands, I think us and Make Waves, who weren't a social first brand. We've grown through Meta and Google advertising. You'd be lucky if I posted once every couple of weeks on Instagram. I didn't have time for that. I needed to focus on where my sales were coming from, because, as I said before, this was a side hustle, and I needed it to be sustainable. But learning from that, from the other founders about what they're doing on socials, how they've grown that really tight community, what they're doing on TikTok Shop. I'm still yet to venture into it, but we're talking to a number of agencies at the moment, just kind of finalizing that. I just think there's so much to learn from each other, not just the wins, the woes. They're probably the biggest learning for everyone. I think it was a shared concern that everyone's been stung by a marketing agency. And it's definitely one I had from my prior brand, Beached, which is all about beauty the Aussie way. And I had a fundraise for that. And, we spent money where it didn't convert. We had money to invest in agencies, but that didn't deliver. This time round, I have not worked with a single agency that doesn't work either on a performance guarantee. If they don't hit the KPIs, we're not paying, or a percentage of rev share. So we're growing it together, or a profit even share. So, that was a big outcome of it. Always, when you chat to founders, they feel like they've been stung by a marketing agency along the way. So it's nice to share that side of things as well, and to let to not feel like you're the only one, because it's a very, very common thing.
I think same with PR agencies and SEO agencies, and
Yeah,
you don't know what you don't know. And I think, again,
exactly.
one of the nice things about the cohorts is that they're all sharing introductions to each other's, like, experts or agencies or people or advice of what to do.
Exactly.
For a final question before we go on to Q&A, I think for people that are looking to apply, would you give them any final tips in terms of what to expect or how to make the best out of the program?
Yeah, I mean, I think going into the application, and you mentioned it, be transparent. You're not pitching for money, you're pitching for support. You don't have to paint this big picture of, how quickly you're 2x, 2 to 3xing your growth rate and things like that. Sure, that's maybe a nice part of your story, but it might not be where you're at. And there might be a few concerns that you'd like help with. So just go into that with that mindset, because you won't get much out of the program if you're not being true about your position. And it's not smooth sailing being a founder and
Yeah,
growing business. If it was, everyone would do it. So they're all very much shared, and I think the more you talk about it, the more it kind of normalizes it, and also allows you to give the help that that person needs. So just come in and be super transparent about where you're at.
100%. And I think, look, we do have the two prizes at the end, from Boots and TikTok Shop, and that is a bespoke prize. Top prize is to get listed at 50 stores in Boots, and a bespoke package of support and help to make sure that goes as smoothly as possible, and it goes as well as possible. The second prize, which is online listing, we've got TikTok Shop that have created a bespoke suite of mentorship support discounts to help people on TikTok Shop. So the grand total in value is about £1 million going to two people. So there's a ton of value out there. I think to get on the program, to Meg's point, you're not pitching for money to get on the program. You're not pitching at all, actually. You're trying to help us understand whether or not we've got a really good fit. It's as important that you get the best out of us, and vice versa. We're looking for brands that we can continue to support in the years going forward. So the cherry on top is the trying to get brands into Boots, and start them in that journey. But everyone's a winner that comes on the program. That sounded really cheesy. On that, I'm going to go to Q&A.
It
Sonia.
is true. It is true.
I loved it. That was great, Paul. Thanks.
Yeah.
Well, actually, yes, thanks so much for that, both of you. And we've got a couple of questions that come through. So just quickly to run you through how we're going to do it. For anyone that still has questions for us, drop them into chat or the Q&A function down below. And we'll just kind of run them through. If there's any of them that we don't get through today, we can email us, which I'll pop in our email address. And we could also try to make sure we cover it for our next webinar episode on the 11th of June. But anyway, let's get going through some questions. Okay, I'm going to start off with one that's detailed around the program timeline. So the timing between the 14th of July and the 22nd of September. Paul, this is for you. So I guess that it's more to do with the participation. If anyone has any pre-booked holidays, considering it's the summer period, does this preclude the participation in the program?
No, you just need to cancel your holidays. No, it doesn't. So obviously, a lot of you in small teams, life goes on. It's over the summer holidays. There's no good time to run a program like this. So if you're applying, just let us know if there's specific dates you can't make. I think the three key dates will be the first 3 days of the program. We've got a highly intensive 3 days where we really run through the foundations of your business. We're introducing you to a lot of the well-known partners. There's obviously the big event. The second day, which we're just trying to lock down now, the exact date is a date in Nottingham where you'll be meeting Boots, where you'll be understanding how Boots work. You'll be pitching to Boots or meeting Boots buyers. That's a really important day. So if you're away, you're away. But if you can rearrange things to be at that day, I highly recommend you do it. And then the finale day. In between that, there's always an area of flexibility. The virtual sessions are recorded. I think if you can't make it, but you've got a co-founder, send them. If you've got teams that you think will benefit from some of the sessions, bring them along. What we do ask is that there's one person who's a decision maker in the business who is there throughout the point of constancy. It's not the word. Continuancy, consistency,
Continuity.
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 One of the C's. That there is someone who is responsible for making the most out of the program from start to finish. If there's key dates you can't make, that's fine. Just let us know in the application form. We'll work around it.
Yeah, and I think the key here is because so many of those are virtual, I think it allows a lot of flexibility for anyone who doesn't want to, chime in while they're at the pool on a holiday. Moving on, I've got a couple of questions actually coming in about the video. As some of you know, part of the application is you need to submit a video about you, your brand, your product. I'm going to divide this up a little bit because I'd be curious to, Meg, tell us a little bit what it is that you submitted and what it was that you were looking to want to portray. And then I'm going to direct it to you, Paul, to say, like, what are we looking for? And what it was that we find the brands that we chose last year really stood out to us. So, Meg, first, go ahead.
Yeah. So I guess in mine, I really focused on the journey, where we were at, why we were doing it, what problem we were solving. And then I remember a bit at the end where I was just like, this is why I want to do it. I think last year, I don't know if it's in there this year, but they were like, this is what you should include. And I think people took a different take, but I literally went through and included everything that was on the list. But I did like that at the end, why I wanted to do it, what was the main thing I wanted to get from the program. And yeah, I think you want to excite them, you want to show them your personality. And to see, whether you'd be like kind of the right fit for the cohort, because it is a big part of like group dynamics as well to have the right type of people. So let it shine through, show your passion.
Yeah, and there's no fixed rules to the videos. I think we want to know the people behind the company. And again, I've been doing this for 1,000 years. We've worked with thousands and thousands of startups, and I think I get more from a 20-second video than a long application form because I can kind of see what the founder is about. And I think, Meg, I certainly from that video, I was like, yeah, I want her on the cohort. Same with Janet from Ominera. And I think those two videos that stood out, and Louis actually from Clear for Men. The reason those videos stood out was you were telling us why you set up the company and what the problem you were trying to solve. And we got who the founder was and what drives them and their personality and what they're about in droves. I think, look, in the current world that we're in, there are people who are incredible, highly polished content creators and storytellers. And then there are people who can barely use their phone. I really don't care about the quality of the video. I don't care if it's filmed like that in a room like this or if it's really polished. I think for me it's about who you are, what you're about, why you set up the business, what you want from the program. Any of the team members, actually I think they're still floating around. Project Plump, Joy from Project Plump just had the most entertaining, fun video. She's an incredible entrepreneur, but she really had fun with the video, and their branding was absolutely incredible. And I think it tells us about the company and you. I don't care about the quality of the execution, but just tell us about you.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think you can reuse also maybe a video you've done before, but we do also value kind of these personable videos that you do around the program. We obviously see that kind of extra level of care, but we do want to see let's say a single video rather than perhaps your YouTube channel or a link to your Instagram. We understand the eagerness. You want to show us maybe perhaps everything. But really that one kind of like Paul said, even that 20 seconds could be so much more powerful to us than perhaps, going through your YouTube channel in that sense. Although we do love to see that excitement for that.
We'll go through all your socials anyway.
Exactly, yeah.
I think some people just gave like a 4-minute random video for something else. It's like, it's a bit boring now. Honestly, I literally don't care if you're making bloopers and if the camera is shaky. It's all about the person talking to the camera. That's all I care about.
Exactly. I'm going to now shift a little bit the conversation around eligibility because I'm seeing a couple of questions. And I'm
Yeah.
actually thinking, Paul, I wonder if we can run through a couple of the points on eligibility, and this way it'll cover majority of the questions. I think first of one, could you clarify around eligibility for being a limited company and where you should be registered?
Yeah, so for lots of boring tax and growth and investment reasons, and what the partners will need when you're in the program, you need to be a UK. You need to have a UK registered company, a limited company. For many of the early stage founders, you might be a sole trader, or you might be doing it on a side gig. And I won't tell HMRC, but you might not be trading officially at all. To be on the program, we have to make sure that you are a limited company. That protects you. It means that you're taking a company seriously. It means that you're able to scale, and a lot of the people that you'll be speaking to, particularly on the commercials and financial side, will know that you're legit. We've got a couple of people that trade in the UK, but maybe the company's based in, say, Ireland or elsewhere. That's okay. I think as long as the UK is a market that you're really focusing on, building on, that you can attend, all of the sessions, you've got people on the ground. We'll look at those case by case. You do need to be a full-time founder. I think some people are just on the precipice, and I think last year we had someone who was that you? No, we had a couple of people who were just about to go full time and took the
That was
jump.
me.
That was
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important one. But we are, for the program, one of the big drivers is about getting brands into Boots, and with Boots you'll need to be set up. So if you don't have a limited company now, I would say that you're probably not ready to go into retail on a national scale within six months of the program. So I hope that answers your questions.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's great. And I think to add to that, can we also go a little bit into detail of, I guess, can they be pre-revenue, pre-launch, and how many, SKUs are we, I guess, anticipating that we want to see people apply? And like we said, the cohort last year was so varied. So
Yeah,
what we do say is a kind of a wish list, but nothing that we say today should ever scare anyone to say, "Oh, I don't fit those criteria. I shouldn't apply." So,
yeah. I broke all the rules by the people that we interviewed.
yeah.
I program my rules. So so look, for retailers, for national retailers, there's a certain criteria that they want. They need to make sure that you're able to scale into 10, 20, 50, 100, 300 stores. And like two of the brands that won last year, one's going into 370 boot stores, the other one's going into 50. And that's considerable capital that you need. They needed to change the packaging. Like it's a lot. So in order to win the prize, I guess, we are looking for quite mature businesses, mature founders. And that means you've got traction, you've got indicators of product market fit, meaning that you're building something that the market wants and will buy repeatedly. We are really keen on growth metrics. So if you've only sold 20K's worth of product, but you only went live 6 months ago, that's really interesting for me. If you went live or launched the business 5 years ago, but your sales are only at 50K, the program's probably not right for you, because I haven't seen that growth. And that can be that the product's not quite right for the market, you're not on it full time, or a combination of reasons. For the program, we are looking at high growth, high potential businesses. The way that we review if you're high growth and high potential is a combination of when you started, what sales you've got, what you're doing on social, what your background is, what's happening in the category. Are you on a trend, or are you more of an evergreen product? So we look at a multitude of different things and pick people case by case. Saying that, we've got space on the program. There might be a couple of brands that might never go into retail, but actually they're doing something really interesting, or they break all the rules, but there's something we just know that they're going to do well. So it is a little bit ambiguous, I guess. As an example, one of the brands that we interviewed last year, in the final 20, she didn't have a product. She wasn't in revenue. She's still in product development, but she was making something specifically for GLP, obviously a huge growing market. She had worked with retail before. She was an exited founder, so she was kind of a good banker for us. But to make the most of the program, I think you need products that you can sell. It doesn't matter if you're on TikTok Shop or if you or TikTok or if you're have millions of people. Everything is case by case. I don't know if that helps anything or makes it a bit more ambiguous, but I think for retailers or if the Boots Prize for the indications we're looking at is could you get the business into retail within 6 months of the end of the program, either by working bloody hard, by scaling up your operations or team or something else. That's usually the indicator for how you get on the program. But again, if you're not quite there but feel you could be, or if there's areas around commercial foundations, raising your profile, using marketing channels, whatever, and you're not quite right for the program, I'd still urge you to apply and just let us know, because as I said, there's lots of other stuff in the pipeline.
Great, thanks. And actually, one last thing about eligibility, and maybe you've touched upon it, but just so we have real clarity, do we have any, how can I say, criteria on how long you've been trading for? So if someone here is asking if they've been trading just for over a year, would you consider that someone that's too early in the stage?
No, I think the sweet spot is probably people that are trading between, I'd say, a year and 4 years,
Mm.
because I think, look, it's unbelievably hard being a founder. I think particularly in the sector, there's no money past Brexit. Everyone's got full-time jobs they're trying to set up businesses with. People have got kids and jobs, and like we get all of that. I think if you've been trading for over 5 years, but you're still in the tens of thousands of pounds revenue rather than the hundreds of thousands or millions, then that might be a bit of a red flag, I'd say, for the program. If you've been trading 6 months, but you've got some traction, or you've got indicators of traction, or you're doing something really interesting, that's cool. We don't have fixed criteria, I guess. But we're looking again for the ambitions of the founders, the unique things that they're doing, the capabilities to grow. But a large influence of who we bring into programs are ones that could get into retail and want to get into retail.
So
Meg,
Paul, I was just going to say, if you were launching in February 2027, yes, I see you in the questions there. Could you apply? Because
yeah,
technically, within 6 months, you could be in Boots. It could be the correct timing if you've got kind of products ready to go. You might have a financial plan in place.
100%. And it might be that this is more about refining what you're doing, or if you're looking to go into Q1, you might want to focus a bit more. No, still apply. You might want to focus on other areas a bit more, like on the legals, the trademarks, the commercial
Yeah.
foundations.
I think it'd be really valuable if you've got a very clear, product, and you're going to be launching at a certain time. Then I think it'd be great foundations.
One of Boots' criteria is obviously they don't want people. They want they want to get the best new brands first.
Yeah.
So if you are in some of their competitors like Sephora's or Space NK's, then you wouldn't be eligible for their prize. But yeah, I think a lot of this is about people who want to get into retail in the next sort of within a year of the program.
Great. And
Yeah.
then actually, someone brought up another piece. This is going to be the last eligibility one, because then after I want to move on to a little bit about Meg's experience in the program. But I think because it's what everyone's wanting to know, let's clear up the eligibility part. One thing we do actually mention is, we do ask for people if they are already in conversations or in national retailers in the UK. What is our criteria there, Paul, if you could clarify for us?
So I think if you're already in national retail, like if you're in a department store or grocers or retailers, then we would another brand might get preference, because again, Boots are their headline retail partner. They're looking for to be the first people to get your brand in. We're promising that they'll make the best brands first. So that's a criteria. I've just completely forgotten the question, Sonia. What was it again?
No, it was in regards to eligibility on, we suggested that we would prefer someone that's not in conversation or not already listed
Yes,
in a
sorry.
major national retailer in the
That
UK.
was it. I think if you're in conversations with other retailers, that's fine. Do your homework on Boots. Boots are doing incredible stuff in beauty at the moment. They've got a new concept store in fragrance. Um, they have got sort of 90 beauty halls. They've got national reach. So you might not want to go into every single Boots. You might want to be in, Boots Beauty or a specific area of it. That's okay. The reality is, I would hope that all of you are speaking to as many retailers as possible, as often as possible, because it is a numbers game, right? If you want to get into retail in the next 6 months, but you haven't reached out to anyone or haven't managed to speak to anyone, I really want to evaluate why. So it's okay if you're speaking to other retailers. We ask you who you're speaking to. We've asked you if you've spoken to Boots in the past. Just be honest and open. If you're speaking to another retailer, tell us where you are in the journey.
Yeah.
Again, if you're about to go into Space NK in the next 6 months, this program might not be right for you, but there's other stuff that we're going to be running around, how to raise investment or how to refine your capital or other stuff. So
Yeah. Great. Well, I think that's, the clearest way we can go about for eligibility. But I want to move on now to a little bit about the actual program and the experience around it. So, Meg, question for you is what was essentially, I guess, your favorite part of the program and something I guess you didn't think you would have learned if you hadn't been part of the program?
Ooh, there's so much.
Yeah.
I think the Boots time was very special. We talked a lot about eligibility here, so I won't go into it. But for everyone's knowledge, we're not in any retailer still, out of choice as well, because timing's really, really important to go into a retailer. Um, but we're in active conversations for the right time, which is really exciting. But yeah, spending that time in Boots and really understanding what they're looking for, where you can negotiate, all that stuff. And it comes back to what I was saying before. You're going into this like as a student and they're sharing this information that you wouldn't normally get. And that was really exciting. And just have personal relationships with them and know the names of their kids and all that good stuff. It's nice. So I think that was really special. To be honest, I loved like all the group time with all the other founders as well. There was no session that I didn't find valuable. And as I said before, it was nice that it was a very holistic approach, and they bring on partners from all different areas. So, yeah, that's probably
I
my.
think I think for me, just pondering on the points before, I think what we're looking for from a program is the most amount of brands that can get great outcomes from the program. That's,
Yeah,
Mm.
that's the culmination of what we're looking for. So, you know, yes, two will go into Boots. I'd love it if 4 or 5 would go into Boots. If 3 go into Boots and 2 go into Space NK and 3 raise money, and that's an incredible win. These are the types of transformational outcomes for the brands that we're really looking for.
yeah. And to be clear, I'm talking to Boots and Space and Care at the moment for next year. Also looking to do a raise too. I've had numerous VCs reach out to me since this program. So there's been so much to come out of it. And yeah, getting into Boots. I mean, I was quite transparent with Paul in the early days where I didn't think timing was right with Boots to go in within 6 months. We just weren't at that right stage in our journey. And I want to make sure that when we go into Boots, we can go in with a bang and really support it and make sure we're getting that sell through. And with a brand that didn't have a strong social following at the time, what the worst case scenario for everyone is for us to go into store and to not sell. But I had certainly had ambitions to get into Boots. And I think, RM from BioRM, she's been going through issues with her packaging and stuff like that. So that sort of stuff does take time to get to that like 6 month runway. So like, I think if you came out of this program, even being with Boots within 12 months is quite realistic. Grace's program Ignite really fast tracks to be able to get the brands that are ready into Boots quickly within 6 months. But generally, when you're talking to these big retailers, they're, the category for the Boots rebuild next year in the body category section is June next year. So like they are planning a very long way ahead generally. But I think having those ambitions certainly to grow the brand in that way is, really important.
I think certainly with you and I think a couple of other founders, it just reignited that sort of ambition and love for the brands that they're working on. So even just to get 10 weeks to work on the business rather than in the business is really valuable.
Yeah, it's nice to kind of step back because you get so deep in the grind and just pumping out the work that needs to happen. But to look at it strategically was invaluable for me. It's completely changed my mindset on the business, how big it can be as well. I always knew it could be big, but not this big. Yeah, I mean, we've mentioned GLP-1 already on this, but I'm already, as a result of the program, just kept hearing so much about GLP-1 and what an important space it is. And, we were rethinking about what our brand does while still maintaining our focus on the stretch mark range. So yeah, there's been an enormous amount to come out of it.
I think, sorry, a lot of founders on the last program were working kind of in isolation, either geographically or they didn't have strong networks of other beauty entrepreneurs or founders. And I think that's one of the other things that's come out of it, which has been really good, is those partnerships and friendships and
Absolutely. We'll never take on the big boys if you don't help each other.
I love that. I think that was also the best way to close this session. I'm mindful that there's a lot more questions, but I have dropped our Breakout Beauty email in the chat. So please feel free to email us there with any questions. Even if you had a question that came to your mind after, we will get back to you ASAP on anything about the program.
Sorry, Sonia, I can stay on a few more minutes if you want to quick fire those. Meg, I know you've got 1,000 things to do, so don't feel you need to.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was going to say also, thank you so much, Meg. We really appreciated you. This is also your second webinar with us, so we really appreciate the collaboration and kind of the insights you've given about the program. I think it's been really useful to hear it from someone that's lived it, gone through it, and really experienced it. And the feedback has always been, people love to hear from the founders at the end of the day. So thank you so much.
Pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Meg.
Okay,
where can people find you? Where can people follow you?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At Style Lab.
That's right.
That's
The
fantastic.
branding is beautiful. Thanks, branding.
Yeah. Agreed.
Okay,
Well, Meg, you are absolutely free to stay on with us. Otherwise, see you later.
Thanks so much for having me. Great. Bye.
Thank you. And Paul, okay, well, let's go through just a couple quick ones that I think could be useful for people to hear about. Can you clarify actually about if they need to send or can they send a sample of the product?
Yeah, so as part of the application form, we encourage everyone to send through a sample of the product. There's an address in London that's in the application form. The reason we ask that is obviously every single application form we'll be going through in detail. We'll be looking at your socials, we'll be stalking you online. The product really helps us understand what it is, what the packaging is, what the state of the packaging is. Does your product do what it says it does? So it's part of the application form. Essentially, again, we know that money is tight for small businesses. You don't need a massive thing. I think just give us enough that we can understand a little bit about what it is. We're going to be judging it on the bits that your customers will see and some of the core packaging, but you don't need to spend thousands of pounds on it.
No, exactly. And I think if anyone has any kind of questions around that, like we said, our channels are open. We don't want to feel that if you get to a point in the application where you're kind of stopped and blocked about it, we can always find some sort of solution to anything you guys may have. Okay, let's actually look. There's somebody asking about participation. It says they have a co-founder. So let's say if they're a team of 2 or 3, can everyone join the in-person and online sessions?
Yeah, I said we want that one person that's consistent from start to finish, and they have to be a co-founder or a founder in the business because they have to be able to make decisions. I think sometimes we are a bit limited on space. Boots, as an example, we're capped on how many people we can bring. So that will be literally the founder or maybe co-founders. With the other sessions, if you think that there's going to be benefit from the team, by all means, they're welcome to come. I think particularly there's some people you might want to bring to the more financial and fundraising sessions. There are others that you might want to bring to the marketing or social sessions.
Mm.
In the in-persons, we are sometimes a little bit capped on space, but we
Yeah.
encourage that they're great resources. We encourage people to do that. For the virtual sessions, bring the whole team and your family if you want.
Yeah, because we had a good variety. We had a lot of teams with two co-founders. So
Yeah.
again, we'll reach out. We can kind of always see the way we can accommodate everyone. Okay, then I have one that's quite specific to an actual application question. So the question of the application is for us to understand your business, do you currently work with suppliers in any of the following areas?
Yeah.
And the question about that question is, does this just mean if you have an accountant or if I have an existing packaging supplier, et cetera, et cetera?
It's basically that. I think it helps us understand when we're going through if you're doing everything solo, if you've got agencies or suppliers that you work with. It kind of just helps us understand how the business is set up. If we see that every single person is working with a specific type of supplier, then a manufacturer or a distributor or I don't know, a PR agency, whatever, it also helps us tweak some of the program syllabus. So if everyone is working with a specific type of thing, then we might not need to deep dive into what is a manufacturer and how do you use them.
Mm.
If nobody is working with a manufacturer or a distributor or a legal firm, it just means as part of the syllabus, we'll go, right, we kind of get where everyone is. Therefore, we might want to dial up this or dial up that. I think the other one is we do have a couple of we've got partners on the program from the world of 3PL, from banking. So if you don't work with people and we run a session with them, we might invite you to a session that, we might not invite other people to. So it just helps us understand your setup a bit better.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's more to do with understanding everyone's circumstances, considering the variety of applications we're getting through.
Really.
Um, the last question is actually to do, we mentioned about wanting someone that kind of does this full time, right? So what does that mean full time for us? Is it a Monday to Friday, 5 days a week? Are we keeping it is it just more about a mentality thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think in an ideal world, you're working on the business Monday to Friday. The business is your day job.
Yeah.
But that's not always possible.
Mm.
If you want to take the jump and you want to make this your full-time job, great. I think for lifestyle businesses where you've got a career or a day job, and this is something you love to do on the side, then again, the program probably isn't right for you. But we might have other sessions that might be more relevant in the future. So apply, but just let us know. If if you're constrained from working full time on it because the cash flow isn't quite there, or you need to raise some money that doesn't exist, or you need to pay the rent, but your mind is in it full time, that's okay. I think the reality of the program is it will be quite difficult to do the program if you have a full time job, unless you have a very understanding employer. We've had that in programs before. It's been fine, but I think if you're like 9 to 5 working on somewhere else, it makes it more challenging.
Yeah, and I guess that comes back to, if you have a team member that's a decision maker that perhaps is a little bit more flexible, there's also ways, I guess, around that. Well, I think that's actually all the questions around the program. I see there's one question about the webinar and whether or not if it's a repeat of today. It is, but it isn't, in the sense that we're obviously going to want to make sure we're covering the same information that you Paul covered the first half for anyone that's hasn't come to these webinars before. But the piece that will be different is the Q&A. So really that is led by the guests and people that are attending the actual webinar. So I think it's still worth registering. You should definitely re-register because it will be a different link. But you never know, someone could come in. And one thing to note is that the next Ask Me Anything is actually just a few days before the application deadline. So this is going to be a really, really important one, I think. So if you guys have any last questions, hop in, and I think that will be one of the most important ones for us to cover. But yeah, I think that's really it from us. To repeat just a couple of things, the session was recorded. I will send everyone emails with the recording and what we discussed today. And then again, just as a friendly reminder, the little survey is going to pop up. And I really can't stress enough that we do go through these. We do form the next webinars around the topics. And actually, a couple of them have been formed around the requests that have come in from people. So don't be shy. Put in any ideas you've got, and you'd be surprised just by how many other more people will probably want to see the same thing. So with that, thanks, Paul. And well,
Thank you.
let's not forget, applications are open. So get applying. I've sent the link in there. You have until the 15th of June, and good luck to everybody.
Perfect. Thanks, everybody. Take
Thank you
care.
so much. Take care. Bye.